So, you know, obviously when you shoot the way you did, it makes everything look good, but it seemed also that a lot of really good shots in there. So what did you think of the execution to get those kind of shots and shoot that way?
Yeah, that's usually how it works, you know. If you do execute your game plan and the ball goes where it kind of needs to go at that time when it needs to get there, you end up with a pretty good shot. And you know, the way we came out, you know, I thought the energy that we played with and the you know, just the edginess, you know, that we played with, I thought that was a big factor. You know, when you play like that, you have a tendency to be a little sharper on the offensive end when your defense is like that.
You know, it was such a different game from the last time you played them, the way they like to play. You were up 8-0, 90 seconds in. I think it was 17-2, 3 minutes and something seconds into the game. How much did setting that tone at the beginning factor into what kind of a game it was?
Yeah, well, you know, the game plan for South Florida is usually control the tempo of the game with their defense. And then they control the tempo of the game with their offense. So they do it at both ends of the floor, which is kind of, you know, it's not unique in and of itself. I mean, lots of teams do that, but what's different about them is they're trying to force you to turn it over, and they're trying to get 20 steals or whatever they want to get a game. But then they don't hurry up on offense and try to score 90. Like most teams that press like that have a want to do. So it's weird. That doesn't really fit together. That's why it's different. So when you get up on a team like that, and it forces them to play faster, and maybe they don't want to play faster. So our whole approach today was going to be that we were going to try to get a shot, you know, early in the possession, as often as we could. And I don't think, maybe they were surprised we pressed them. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people do that against them. But I thought it was the right thing to do.
I'm impressed for you just with Megan, not only in scoring, but, you know, she brought physicality underneath the basket there.
Yeah. Meg's got a lot of skills. Meg's a talented kid. You know, we said that, you know, all along from day one. You know, that's never been in question, her talent level. And now, you know, we're ratcheting it up a little bit defensively and offensively. CD made a good point at one point in the first half. She said Meg needs a breather. That's never been said before ever on our bench. Meg needs a breather. Meg doesn't go hard enough to need a breather. So the fact that she was going today, I mean really going, at both ends of the floor, that's a good sign. And she's come a long way in that regard. You know, kids that are really talented, you know, the danger is that they kind of just play at a pace that's comfortable for them. And I spent a career out of making comfortable people very uncomfortable.
Geno, with her though, is what we've seen with her more than normal? You've had a lot of kids come in here as freshmen that were highly touted and be, you know, really, really good. I mean, even Stewie struggled at times.
Yeah.
Is this the normal? She's a sophomore and now she's maybe kind of hitting her stride, but more normal how kids do it?
I think, you know, we've had a couple freshmen that come in and, given the circumstances, play above and beyond their years, you know. But generally speaking, this is kind of how it works. You know, you have to go through it to get a feel for it, and then it starts to click. And this might be, the timeline for Meg, Again, I go back to what I said earlier about, needing a breather. I mean, the biggest difference in Megan since, I would say, the Baylor game has been her effort. I've said this to you guys before. I tell her, just watch FISA. Everything FISA does, that's what you need to do. Then you can never go wrong. FISA's a machine. So just do what FISA does. I don't think FISA's ever been to, I don't think she's ever been to a training room for a Band-Aid or anything. I don't think there's any blood in FISA. It's just wires. FISA's a machine, man. She just goes. Every single minute of every day, every practice, every drill, she just goes. I said, Meg, just watch FISA and do everything FISA does. You'll be all right.
Talk about the job, Crystal did. She had 17 points, but 9 assists, no turnovers.
Yeah, that was one. That might be the best game she's ever played at Connecticut, I think. And the points, the assists, and all that. That's one thing. I think the way they came and the way she interacted with her teammates and how much she was connected to the rest of the team in running the operation. I thought she was right on point in just about everything she did, everything. And that to me is like a perfect game, right? 17 points, 9 assists, no turnovers. That's like a perfect game, as far as I'm concerned.
What that play end of the half, you draw that off, or is that just?
Yeah. We've been working on that since the 1 second mark at the half. That's when we started working on it. FISA and Crystal came up with that on their own. Yeah. I wish they would come up with more stuff.
Geno, Notre Dame lost today, becoming the first #1 team to lose to an unranked team in 198 games. 4th time it's happened in 20 years. What do you make of that?
That's a good question. I don't know what to make of it. I would like to think that it should happen more often. It happens in other sports, doesn't it? It happens more often. I think maybe it's getting tougher to play. Was it a road game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At Carolina.
Maybe it's getting tougher to play on the road, as it should be. It should be easy to win on the road. Maybe that's a good thing that it happens. And maybe, like I said, maybe it should happen more often. I think it certainly is a reminder to everybody that, nothing's guaranteed, right? Just because you roll in and you're #1 in the country doesn't mean you're going to automatically get a W. It's a good sign. I think it's a good sign, especially in conference games. I mean, if it was a non-conference game, I would be a little more surprised. But the fact that it's a conference game and, they've seen Notre Dame a lot the last couple of years, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised it doesn't happen as often in women's basketball, but I hope it keeps happening. I hope it happens again to whoever's #1 next. And I hope we don't get to be #1 the rest of the season. That way we won't be in that situation.
Given some of the shooting woes, how important was it in the first half, as well as you defended, to shoot 71? I know the third quarter you struggled, but it's over 70% in the first half. Part of it, the defense, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's important to keep shooting really well.
Well, when you're playing a game and everything's half court, then every possession becomes life and death. And then the only shots you're getting are, I don't want to say tough looks, but they're open, but there's a lot of pressure to make them because you don't get many of them. So today what happened was because of our defense, we got a lot of great looks early on. And then because a couple of them went in, then it just kind of, I mean, it's not like we set the world on fire. I mean, we were still 7 for 24, but we made a bunch during a stretch when we really, blew the game open. And they're not an easy team to get open looks against. That's why you have to get them early in the possession, because the longer it goes, I think the tougher that defense gets. And FISA shooting labs most of the first half. And you know what? Some of the passes that Crystal threw, we ran the floor pretty well today, which we hadn't done in a while. Our transition game was good because we had people to throw the ball to up ahead. We kind of lost some of that the last couple weeks, maybe.
Geno, can you talk about Crystal's progression in terms of her aggressiveness? And she just seems to, when she first came here, she just didn't have like the being she has now, just keep going.
Yeah.
Really dominate the floor.
I think that goes back to, Rich's question. Kids come in as freshmen and depending on what position too, like, you come in and you're a guard and you get the ball and you're used to having it the entire possession, and here you actually got to pass it to really good players, and so, and then every decision you make gets scrutinized, and how come you're not playing better defense, and how come you're not running the team better, and how come you're not making shots, and it just kind of, gets a little bit overwhelming, but Crystal had to find herself, kind of like what Megan's doing right now. Crystal came and was pretty good and was like, okay, we're being pretty good, and didn't understand what really, really good was and what it took to get there. And every little thing set her back. It was really interesting to see when she was a freshman. Every little thing set her back. So we just kept our fingers crossed that nothing happened, because then it's a 2-week project. And now she won't come off the court, no matter what. No matter what, she won't come off the court. Practice, games. She's found herself. And, when really talented kids do that, it's sky's the limit. And she's in a really good place right now.
Geno, what about Kristen, though? Does it go back to the freshman thing? Or in some way, when a kid has such the game that she had at Notre Dame,
Yeah.
Can sometimes they sort of start taking shortcuts after that because so quickly something really good came to them?
I don't think it's a matter of shortcuts. I think it's more of people start paying more attention to you now, whereas maybe they didn't do that before. So now that people are paying attention to you, all the things you like to do are harder to do. So you've got to, do other things. And, Crystal really attacked the basket in the Notre Dame game. She attacked it in transition. She attacked it in the half court. And then she made a bunch of jump shots. And today she passed up a bunch of open shots, a bunch of open threes, a bunch of open shots, because she's not in a good place right now. So I just think that mentally, young players get affected by, I'm going good, so you know what, I'm going to be great. I'm not going good. Oh boy, it's going to be a long week for me. Like, neither of those things are true, but that's how young kids think.
Anything else?
You feel like this team is in a decent spot heading into Louisville? Where do you feel like?
Well, I know after the Louisville game, you could ask me, like, what happened? You were in such a good spot.
Yeah.
I'm starting to learn that teams that I'm around anymore, you just take it for the spot they're in right now, and the spot that we're going to be in at Tuesday's practice could be someplace completely different. Once one of the questions I asked the team after the game, how'd you guys get into this state? What happened? Do you know what happened? Because if you don't know, then it's going to happen randomly. If you do know, then you can make it happen anytime you want to make it happen. And that's the trick for most good teams, you know? Like I said, when Lou and Feast were freshmen, the minute the referee threw the ball up at Ohio State, opening game, it was a 30-point win. And for the rest of the season, all I had to do was go, come on, let's go. Just show up, and we win. So some teams, and then others, it takes a while to get themselves figured out. And then, unfortunately, some teams, they never figure it out. So this team, we certainly didn't have it opening day, and we certainly don't have it every day in practice. And our margin for error when we're not good is we're not good. But if we were to find, you know, this state that we were in today and know how to get to it on a regular basis, I think we have a chance to be really, really, really good. How good? I don't know. But whatever state that is, 7 o'clock Thursday night, we better be in it. Or we're going to be in a bad state. Because those guys are good. They're really good. And they're really good at home. And how many times do you think Walls will remind them that they've never beat us? A couple times?
One or two.
I think. I might call him and remind him myself. Just to reinforce it. I don't know that that'll have anything to do with it, though.